Hello and welcome to another session of the Restart Conference program. I would like to thank Catalan Films and the Catalonia Film Commission for their support to bring you this talk. Both have a virtual stand on the Restart platform, so I invite you to connect with them if you want to learn more about what they can offer in terms of content as well as locations. We decided to call this panel Women at the Wheel because looking at films of recent years, such as Summer 1993, Schoolgirls, A Thief's Daughter, or My Mexican Pretzel, to quote a few, we really have a sense of women filmmakers as the driving force behind a lot of the Catalan productions gathering interest at festivals and markets. To discuss this, we have the pleasure of having with us three professionals at the top of their game that I'm sure will not only make this talk very interesting, but also my job very easy. We have writer and director Clara Roquet. She co-wrote 10,000 Kilometers, a film that was widely released. Roquet has also co-written the film Petra with director Jaime Rosales that premiered in Cannes, and now she's finished her first feature as a director. Which she has written too, of course. Hi, Clara, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Also with us is producer Valerie Delpierre, head of producing company Inicia Films, based in Barcelona. She produced Carla Simón's Summer 1993 that won the Best First Feature Award at the Berlinale in 2017. She has since kept very busy returning to the Berlinale with Schoolgirls, co-produced with Beating Pictures, a film directed by Pilar Palomero that went on to win big at the Goyas, the Spanish Film Academy Awards, and the Gaudís, the Catalan Film Awards. Valerie Delpierre is now working on Pilar Palomero's next feature. Welcome, Valerie, and thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. My pleasure.
And I also have the pleasure of introducing Berlinale curator extraordinaire Pat Lazaro. She has a vast experience evaluating film submissions of Catalan and Spanish productions. She has recently been appointed content director and head of Spain for the US-based production company Exile Content Studio. Welcome, Pat, and thank you as well for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So let's get the engine running on this panel, Shooting in Catalonia, Women at the Wheel. My first question has to do with the presence of more women in key posts in the industry. It has been an ongoing debate, but what's your impression of where we stand now? It looks as though something is moving in the right direction, looking at some of the work that we've mentioned, it's coming now from Catalonia. So maybe shall we start with you, Clara?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I'm not sure. I think I'm very excited to hear about what you think the reasons for this phenomenon are. I'm sure we can name a few, but I think it's also just like a generational thing. It's like it's wonderful coincidence, and for me, it's been a pleasure because most of these women are my friends and I admire them so much. And to see them grow and to be able to help each other as we make our first features and as we, write scripts and send each other our scripts. It's just, I have this feeling of community and I have this feeling I'm supported by people who are going through the same things as me, and they happen to be women, which I think is great. And I also have a feeling that we share a lot of topics and a sensibility. Like I remember watching Schoolgirls or watching Carla Summer 1993 and feeling, I don't know, I felt like those films were hitting very close to home. And I felt each one of them has their own voice, of course, and their own vision. But I had the feeling of a shared universe in a way, because we're all very close in age and we come from similar places. So it's beautiful. It's like having a mirror in a way of your own work. Very close.
How about you, Valerie? What would what are the reasons that have made this possible in your view, and what has your experience been in this context over these last few years?
Yeah, I believe it's a reflection of the preparation of creators, directors, also technicians. They went to school. They are well formed and they are prepared to tell their story, but also to participate in the shooting and in all the aspects of the film industry. And also, I believe there were a strong intention of looking for this presence, woman presence in the industry, and this is the result of the politics we set up as a sector, and I think it's working and it's healthy. It's and it's also natural actually, and I think we can now say it's natural. Yes.
And what about you, Pat, from your perspective? Have you seen this evolve?
Well, from my perspective, it's actually a very beautiful thing to see how in the last 5 years, so many new, amazing and super talented female voices are coming from Catalonia. And but I have to say, for us from the Berlin International Film Festival perspective, it's always been female-led, even though, you know, back in the 90s when we had her first film in Panorama, I'm speaking, of course, about Isabel Coixet. I mean, she has been the one female voice leading since for a long, long time, and she was the only one for a long time. And it's very refreshing and amazing to see these new young voices, and especially in Berlin, we were lucky to have them all. I mean, with Carla Simón, she won, which is funny because now that we're talking about, you know, this general trend. I don't know if it's ever happened before, you know, like with Carla's summer of '93, she won in Berlin and then went to win the Goya in Spain, which, you know, for a female director in a first feature, it was not really what used to happen in the Goyas. And the same thing now with Pilar Palomero with her first feature. And that's great news, I think. I think it stands for, you know, things are changing. And it's wonderful to see it from where we're standing. And we're very happy to keep on watching all these amazing women. I mean, their films are great. And not just them, you know, there's also Meritxell Colel and there's Neus Bayús. I mean, the list is very long and the talent is huge, no doubt.
Yeah, of course, the list is extremely long, and you know, I would surely miss names if I attempted to go through it, because you're absolutely right. The number of, you know, you don't have to look far to think of precisely the concept of the new wave of Catalan filmmakers that are women. But what you hinted at some of the reasons behind this, like, for example, education policies. Could you pinpoint some particular strategies that have worked well in order to, you know, open the door for these talents to be able to express themselves? And I'm curious to know as well, from your own sort of perspective, if you feel you've had to push harder, or you know, from your field of expertise, if you could elaborate a bit on that, about the steps you've taken, if you feel now you're not swimming against the current as you might have had to do before. So, you know, whoever who would like to start, you know, we can reverse the order now maybe, and we can start with you, Pat.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I mean, from our point of view, from the festival point of view, when we watch these films, we really don't pay attention to who's behind it and what country it is. Is it a male? Is it a female? In the very first instance, the film just speaks for itself. You know, it's all about the artistic value of the film itself. And we watch all the films in our cinema, and there's no distinction there. And they all compete with each other, meaning it's the whole world. So there's no first look into, you know, opening doors if you have certain characteristics or, you know, ticking boxes. Not at all. It's just the film itself that has to do the work. So from that point of view, we're very, very free. And it's only afterwards, in the aftermath, you know, once the festival is over, and once, of course, you know, the one thing that really measures the success of any film that we show is, in the first place, of course, the audience and the industry, of course. So it's only after that we can see these patterns and we can see these trends. So from our point of view, the doors are wide open. And we're always open. Actually, we do. I mean, I've been myself going, you know, to ESCAC and to Pompeu Fabra because it's a lot of talent to be discovered there. Also to, you know, give master classes to give more information about how we work in festivals to make sure that they have the right information. But from our point of view, like I said, doors are wide open.
And Valerie, what would you like to add to that?
In my case, I start not with the film, but with the script. And as Path said, I don't make any distinction when I read a script. And I would not say if it's getting easier and if it was hard at the beginning, because I have not such experience about male director, first feature. I mean, in my company, we mostly supported and produced female directors. So I would say it was not hard in my point of view, it was not hard to produce female director, but also because we are lucky to be working now. When I think about previous female director, I guess it was a very hard environment. It was harder, definitely, but and I think it's when I read a script, maybe I react better on a story made by a female creator, because maybe they talk about things I didn't see before, and it's a new perspective, and it's more interesting for me. But I would not say it was hard based on the genre question.
And what about the sort of the public support? You know, have you noticed that, you know, that the changes that have been implemented have helped nurture the appearance of more films directed by women?
I'm sure the audience is more aware, but also the industry, also the press, critics. I mean, I would say it's a general feeling about being aware about the female perspective. And it's a plus, and it's something we're all working on it. And so I would say for us at this time, it's easier. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. How about from your point of view, Clara? Especially now that you've just finished, I believe, your first feature as a director called Libertad.
I think you mentioned something before that I think is very important, and it is having role models. For me, as I was growing up, I remember, you know, looking at Isabel Cochet's films, and for me, it was an important thing to see that a female director was directing, because that meant it was possible, you know. And I think that now I teach at Pompeu Fabra, I teach screenwriting, and there are a lot of very talented women in the class, and they look up to directors such as Belén Funes or Elena Martin or Carla, or, you know, and they have these role models, and that's great because it's creating a feeling that it is possible for them. And at the same time, I think schools, something that Valerie mentioned before, are doing a great job, because we have these two great schools that are very different. We have SCAC, which is a film school, and we have Pompeu Fabra, which is, it's mass media or audiovisual communication. I don't know how I would call it, but it's different, but it's very oriented towards film. And I think in schools, the great thing is that you have this safe space that professors try to provide, in which there are no distinctions. Everyone gets to do their final project. Everyone gets the same tools, and I think a lot of the talent is coming from these safe spaces and from the schools, and you see more and more girls in classes every day, and it's really great to see.
And Clara, could you tell us a bit about your upcoming film, Libertad, which I believe was shot on the Catalan coast, if I'm not mistaken. So could you tell us a bit about that? How it was, how it is to make a film in as well on location in Catalonia?
It was a great experience, and in many ways it was a great experience because I was surrounded by amazing women. And for example, my DOP is Jordana, who studied in SCAC. There are a lot of great DOPs right now, female DOPs working in Catalonia and in Spain and in the world, and a lot of them come from SCAC. With Gris, I made all my shorts, and I have this, feeling with her that she provides this amazing environment on set, which is very calm, and it's great for me to work, because I believe that we have to find a way of directing, or I had to find a way of directing that was not based on this, like, something that I identify a little bit with, like, patriarchy, which is this more like bottom to top, like kind of like structure in which you kind of like impose your view from the top. And I believe I wanted to work in a way that was more from community and from, like, sharing ideas and like having everyone involved in the process. Then, for example, Belén Funes was my script on set, which is great because I was like, I need someone who is going to tell me if I'm doing terrible mistakes. So she was there all the time and she really helped me. So I felt this support. It was amazing. And shooting in Catalonia, in the Costa Brava, it's gorgeous. It can be a little bit difficult when the tourists arrive, but it also gives it a lot of life. And we found everyone really wanted to collaborate with us. It was a very, very good experience, really. And I think that I was very lucky because I always had the feeling that everyone wanted to see this film made, like from institutions, from like televisions, everywhere. So it was a great experience.
Could you tell us a bit what the film is about shortly, so we have an idea?
I haven't done this in a while, actually. It's about this friendship between these two girls. One of them is a Catalan girl who comes from a very privileged background, and she's spending the summer with her family in this big house in the Costa Brava. And the other girl is this teenager coming from Colombia called Libertad, and she's the daughter of the woman who takes care of the Catalan girl's grandmother who has Alzheimer's, and she comes from like the opposite world, and they form this like uneven and intense friendship during the summer.
And Valerie, you're also working, in the case of Libertad, it's a film that must be nearing the end of its post-production, I guess. But in the case of the film, the new film you're preparing with Pilar Palomero, it's in the early stages yet. So could you tell us a bit about, because after the major success of Schoolgirls, we're looking forward to having a look at La Maternal, I think it's called. So could you tell us a bit about it?
Yes, we are pre-production. We are pretending to shoot on October. So we are very happy because the script is great, definitely great. And people, TVs and fans gave us very good response to the project. It's about Carla, and she's 13, and she's getting pregnant, and she will be helped to learn to be a mother, and also to repair a relationship with her own mother. It's all about maternity, and the starting point is you have to learn to be a mother, even more if you want to be a good mother.
And you're starting to shoot in October, I think you mentioned, and so
Yes.
or in autumn, yeah. Whereabouts are you aiming to shoot?
We are going to shoot in Barcelona mainly during 8 weeks, and we are on casting at this moment and starting with locations.
Have you felt that, because of after the terrible year we've been through in terms of working and shooting, do you think, are you expecting a lot of, extra work due to the sort of the COVID context?
Not really in this case. We hope it will be easier on October than if we would have done it this year, for example, or last year. And no, not really. Yeah, we have a problem because we have babies, we have teenagers. It's like a mess. But but I would not say that it's for COVID reasons. It's because we never learn, and we're still putting ourselves in complicating situations. But we like it, and it's kind. I mean, Pilar wants to tell the story from a nice and positive perspective. And what we learned during this process is when we think about teenager pregnant, you feel it's like bad news for you, and it's going to cut your life. And what we learned with girls in this situation, it's like you should not see it from your perspective, but from their perspective. And it's really it's positive. And even if the situation is hard, it's not dark at all.
And Patha, I would like to ask you about your point of view about the work that you've been seeing coming from Catalonia in terms of style, in terms of themes. Have you? What's your feeling when it comes to sort of identifying a certain trend in these new films?
Wow, that's a very deep question, actually. It's a very good one. I don't know. I think if I had to find one word to define it, especially in this topic that we have today, the female Catalan directors, I think it would be freedom, actually. It's not set on stone. I think if you look at each one of the films by these amazing female directors, the one thing they do have in common is freedom, is telling the story exactly the way they want to tell it. And it is probably that freedom that gives it its authorship, the voice each one of these female directors have, and they're all absolutely different. And it doesn't matter what topics they tackle. Regarding topics, it's trickier because it's a long list, like we said, but I do feel there is a lot of very personal stories, maybe not autobiographical at all, but I do have the feeling that they do tend to speak about things that are very, very close to them, and they know them very, very well. And they have their own perspective and their own opinion and standpoint, maybe, but it's complicated to pinpoint it. but definitely freedom. I mean, if you look at the way they're shot, all these films, each one of them is very, very different, from Belén Funes' film to Pilar Palomero's to Neus, from her first to her second. And I mean, even Isabel Isabel Coixet keeps on renewing herself, you know? So there's definitely a lot of openness and definitely a huge talent.
I also have a sense of, the idea of intimacy and having a look at the past, our own, your own. So would you agree with that? And we'll soon wrap it up because we're running out of time. But I did want to ask, maybe Clara, you could elaborate a bit on that, on the idea of a certain kind of a sense of intimacy of this in a lot of these films.
Yes, it's a very interesting question, because I feel we were having a conversation a few months ago, and we were talking about this idea of the female point of view, which it's kind of an annoying thing. It's as if saying that it means that we can also only tell a certain kind of stories and not other stories. And I'm always like, actually, the film that I want to write, that I'm writing next, is a Western, and it's like genre, and I love that. I want to explore other topics. But it is true that there's something in the way these films approach the main characters, that it is looking for an intimacy with them. And sometimes I think it has to do with the way in which we have been raised as women, which is different than the way in which men have been raised, which is terrible, and I think that should change. But we, as women, we are granted the possibility of having intimacy and vulnerability much more often than men, which I think is, again, like, it shouldn't be like that, and I hope that we start changing things. But I do see something of that in the films. And then obviously we really like teenage girls. There is something about teenage girls and young girls which is really attractive to us. And I think it's because teenage years are so intense, and we feel things so intensely. And the way we're young still, we're getting young, not so young anymore, but we're very close to our teenage years still. So I have a feeling that it calls us a lot, and this has to do with our age. I think we're all like in our third. Everyone you've mentioned is like we're in our like 30s, 40s. So yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I think we'll leave it there. We'll be looking forward, looking out for your upcoming work. And thank you so much for joining us in this panel. Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Valerie, and thank you, Pat. And see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.